In the world of the NFL, every team carries a story. Their colors, their traditions, and even their names are shaped by the cities they represent and the history that carried them onto the field. Among these stories stand the animal teams, the birds that soar above the stadiums, the big cats that stalk the line of scrimmage, the horses born from the spirit of the American frontier, and the creatures of sea and sky that symbolize speed, intelligence, and pride. These teams did not choose their animal identities by accident. Each name carries a meaning. Some were born from fan contests, others from local heritage. Some emerged through legend, and some simply because the symbol captured the heart of a city. Together, these animals create one of the most diverse and symbolic collections of team identities in all of sports. Today, we explore each of those franchises and uncover why the animal behind the name matters. From powerful predators to graceful birds to the unexpected creatures that shaped entire fan bases, this is the story of how animals became the soul of so many NFL teams. And we begin with the oldest bird in the league, the Arizona Cardinals. The story of the Cardinals begins long before Arizona. When the team played in Chicago more than a century ago, they wore faded red jerseys bought secondhand from the University of Chicago. The owner joked that the color was not maroon, but cardinal red, and the name stuck. Over time, the bird became their symbol, a creature small but fierce, bright-colored, and unmissable across the field. The Cardinals carried that identity from Chicago to St. Louis, and then across the desert to Arizona, keeping the bold little bird as their emblem of endurance. Atlanta Falcons. When Atlanta's expansion franchise needed a name in the 1960s, a teacher wrote in suggesting the Falcon, calling it proud, dignified, and the epitome of courage. The idea took flight instantly. Falcons are fast, sharp, and decisive, everything a football team wants to represent. The name turned the new team into a symbol of precision and aerial dominance, perfectly suited for a franchise born in a city rising toward the modern era. Baltimore Ravens. When Cleveland's franchise relocated to Baltimore, the city needed a new identity. Their new name honored Baltimore's most famous literary figure, Edgar Allan Poe. His dark, iconic poem, The Raven, had long been part of the city's spirit. The bird in the poem is mysterious, intelligent, and relentless, and that tone became the foundation for the team's character. The Ravens were born from literature, but shaped by the grit of Baltimore. Carolina Panthers. Before the franchise even existed, the team owner's son had proposed the name Panthers because the Black Panther symbolized sleek power. When Carolina officially received its team, that idea immediately rose to the top. The Panther fit perfectly, swift, silent, and ready to strike. It gave the Carolinas an animal identity rooted in strength and elegance, one that stands out with its sharp black and blue colors. Chicago Bears. The Bears' name is tied directly to Chicago's baseball roots. When the football team moved into Wrigley Field, home of the Cubs, the owner, George Halas, wanted a name that felt connected yet stronger. Football players were bigger, tougher, and more rugged, so instead of Cubs, they became Bears. The name mirrored the city's toughness and gave Chicago a symbol of brute strength that has lasted for generations. Cincinnati Bengals. When Cincinnati received a new franchise, owner Paul Brown chose the name Bengals to revive a piece of the city's football past. Cincinnati once had a team by that name decades earlier. The Bengal Tiger was the perfect icon. Bold, striped, and built for explosive bursts of energy. It gave the team an identity of raw power and a visual presence like no other in the league. Denver Broncos. The Bronco is a wild Mustang that embodies the American West, and Denver embraced that identity fully. When the team formed in 1960, the region's horse riding heritage made the name an obvious choice. Broncos buck, kick, and refuse to be broken, and that wild, untamed spirit became the core of Denver's football culture. It is rugged, frontier energy channeled onto the field. Detroit Lions. When the struggling Portsmouth Spartans relocated to Detroit in 1934, the new owners wanted a fresh identity. They chose the name Lions to evoke royalty and leadership. If the baseball team was the Tigers, then the football team would be the king of beasts. The lion represented courage and majesty, and Detroit adopted the roaring symbol as a declaration of ambition and competitive pride. Indianapolis Colts. The Colts' origins go back to Baltimore, a city famous for horse breeding and racing. The term colt symbolizes a young horse, energetic, fast, and full of potential. When the franchise later moved to Indianapolis, another city with strong ties to horses and racing culture, the name remained a natural fit. The colt has continued to represent youthful momentum and constant motion. Jacksonville Jaguars. Before Jacksonville was even awarded a team, a naming contest was held, and Jaguars quickly emerged as a fan favorite. The city's zoo once housed a record-breaking jaguar, giving the name local significance. More importantly, the jaguar is powerful, stealthy, and fierce. Even if the species does not roam Florida, its influence gives the team a predator's identity: sleek, muscular, and ready to pounce. Los Angeles Rams. The Rams' identity began with their original franchise in Cleveland in 1936. The owner chose Rams because he admired Fordham University's powerful college football team, the Fordham Rams. The animal itself became the symbol of resilience, toughness, and a strong head-on charge. Whether in Cleveland, Los Angeles, St. Louis, or back in Los Angeles, the Ram has remained the team's unwavering emblem of brute force. Miami Dolphins. When Miami launched its franchise, the owners held a fan contest that drew tens of thousands of name suggestions. Dolphins won because dolphins are among the smartest and fastest creatures in the ocean. Their playful yet strategic nature matched the vibrant spirit of Miami. The dolphin gave the team a unique marine identity tied to the city's coastline and tropical energy. Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were born in 1933 when new ownership took over a failing Philadelphia franchise. The name was inspired by the eagle symbol from the National Recovery Administration, part of President Roosevelt's New Deal program. The eagle represented American strength and recovery, a powerful message during the Great Depression. The bird became a symbol of resilience, patriotism, and upward flight. Seattle Seahawks. When Seattle joined the NFL in the 1970s, the city launched a naming contest that drew more than 20,000 submissions. Seahawks stood out immediately. Though not a scientific species, the Seahawk is synonymous with the osprey, a strong coastal bird native to the Pacific Northwest. It symbolized the region's connection to ocean, sky, and rugged nature. The name became a perfect blend of local wildlife and fierce personality. Buffalo Bills. Although the name Bills comes from Wild Bill Hickok and not an animal directly, the team embraced the charging buffalo as its identity. The bison, often called buffalo, is a symbol of strength across the American frontier. The animal became the heart of the team's imagery, connecting Buffalo's name, the city's heritage, and the raw force of this massive creature into one powerful emblem. Oorang Indians. In the early 1920s, the NFL briefly hosted one of the strangest teams in league history. The Oorang Indians were created not to win games, but to advertise a famous kennel in Ohio. The owner bred champion Airedale dogs, and he built an entire football franchise around promoting the breed. Players performed dog training shows at halftime, and the team became a traveling spectacle. Their true mascot wasn't a fierce predator or a mythical creature. It was the loyal Airedale, a working dog that defined the team far more than the wins and losses. Detroit Tigers. 1930s NFL team. Long before the modern Detroit Lions, the city briefly fielded another animal-named NFL franchise. The Detroit Tigers football team borrowed the name of the city's well-known baseball club. The Tiger represented speed, power, and a fierce competitive edge. Though this team lasted just a single season in the 1930s, its big cat identity lived on in Detroit through the Lions, who arrived shortly afterward and kept the feline tradition alive. Brooklyn Lions. Another big cat of the early NFL. In the 1920s, Brooklyn briefly had its own NFL team named the Lions. Their identity echoed the strength and royalty associated with the King of Beasts, an image intended to make the club appear imposing in a crowded New York sports market. Although the Brooklyn Lions merged and disappeared almost as quickly as they arrived, their name reflected the era's fascination with strong, iconic animal mascots. Cleveland Tigers. Borrowing the fierce nature of the Tiger, Cleveland's early pro football teams experimented with several identities before becoming the Browns. One such team was the Cleveland Tigers. Like many organizations of the time, they borrowed the Tiger name to project ferocity and competitiveness. The team's lifespan was short, but the Tiger motif fit the rugged early NFL era when teams relied on strong animal names to build regional pride. Milwaukee Badgers. Named after Wisconsin's state animal. In the 1920s, Wisconsin was already known as the Badger State, named after miners who burrowed into hillsides like the animal. When Milwaukee entered the NFL, the team naturally adopted the name Badgers. It was local, rugged, and perfectly matched the hardworking identity of the region. The franchise only lasted a handful of seasons, but the Badger name tied it forever to Wisconsin's wildlife heritage. Every animal in the NFL tells a story. Some represent the fierce spirit of a city, others symbolize speed, intelligence, or power. A few were chosen by fans who wanted something bold. Others were born from history that reaches back nearly a century. But together they show how deeply a name can shape a team's identity and how an animal can become a symbol that fans carry for generations. These creatures live far beyond their logos. They appear in chants across stadiums and on jerseys, worn proudly by millions. They become traditions passed from parents to children, and they give each team something to believe in. A figure that stands for strength, loyalty, or courage. Thank you for joining this journey across the wildlife of the NFL. If you enjoyed learning the origins of these iconic teams, there is always more history waiting to be explored. Until then, keep your eyes on the field and the stories that continue to unfold every week.